In conversation with Ali Dalsimer. Ali Dalsimer is an award-winning author, motivational speaker, life coach, and certified facilitator. Over the past 30 years, she has authored or co-authored more than 50 articles, reports, book chapters, and brochures. She holds a degree in English and psychology from the University of Richmond and a master's in public policy from Georgetown University. During her three-decade environmental career, Harley received numerous awards for contribution to conserving our nation's natural heritage and for leading multiple national and international conservation efforts. In 2022, she ran for the U.S. Congress, bringing a passion for public service to the forefront. These experiences have involved her writing, offering readers unique insight into personal growth and societal challenges. A debut book, It's Okay Not to Be Fabulous Every Day, explores themes of self-discovery, personal growth, and the complexities of the human experience. Praised for its unflinchingly honesty and relatable narrative, Fabulous has earned multiple awards, including recognition as a CM Top 50 Nonfiction Book of 2024. As a speaker, Ali helps people going through changes and challenges see how worthy they truly are, giving them the confidence to reach their full potential. When she's not writing, speaking, or coaching, Ali enjoys reading, spending time outdoors, and making memories with her two amazing kids and a chubby rescue cat, Pooma. And in today's episode of Auto Interview, it's my utmost pleasure, joy, and excitement to have for the show today, Ali Dalsima. How are you doing today, Ali? Welcome on the show.
Thank you. I am doing very well today, Peter. How are you doing?
I'm doing very fine too. It's so lovely to have you on the show today. Quite exciting we're here to sit and have a conversation around your book. I've been looking forward to it. Thank you for coming on.
Yeah, my pleasure. I've been looking forward to it as well.
Yeah, yeah. So, Ali, I wanted to say that reading through some of your books was quite amazing and discovering them was quite lovely to me, really. And I wanted to start with some very, kind different question, really, because I found that you blend personal stories with life lessons throughout your book. How do you decide what part of your life you would like to share? This may be like a very funny start to an interview, but let's see.
That is an interesting question because I didn't really choose what to include. I
Mm,
simply started writing, and what came out came out. And in some ways, what ended up on the page surprised me as well.
mm,
Where I did make a choice was in removing information because
mm.
the book originally was significantly longer than it is now.
Mm,
But I felt there was too much duplication and redundancy. And so I went through and took out a lot of material. And removing that was a conscious choice. And I think the way I chose what to keep in was, even if it was a little bit personal or difficult to share,
yeah.
because I tend to be a private person, I
Mm,
kept those items in that I felt if I was reading it from another person's perspective, what could
mm.
I relate to most? Because
Yeah.
the whole point of the book is that even though I have a particular set of struggles or experiences, they're
Mm,
basically universal. They're the same as many people's. They're just
mm.
different in the details.
Oh, wow. That's a lovely one. That's an amazing and a captivating one, really. Thank you so much for sharing. And also, just for the sake of readers who haven't read, it's okay not to be fabulous every day yet. And without giving much information away, could we have a sneak of what we'd expect in terms of themes, subject lines, and some of the overarching title that we'd expect picking up the book?
100%. And I'm happy to give away everything in the book because the whole point is to share and be open about
Mm,
the whole thing. The arc of the book is a journey. That's the subtitle, a journey to self-discovery. And it starts from a point of turmoil, stress, grief,
mm,
and unhappiness,
mm,
and hopefully leads the reader on some steps so that they can learn to accept who they are, flaws and all, then learn to really love themselves,
mm.
then to embrace what I call their inner fabulosity, because I truly believe everyone has within them everything they need to
Mm,
achieve their dream life, to achieve the life they were meant to lead, and then sets them on the path
mm,
to pursuing that so they can maximize their personal potential, which means to
mm,
lead a successful life. By success, I mean doing what you love, loving who you are, and loving who you're with. And to
mm,
me, that's the arc of it. In
mm,
terms of structure, it's set up in little bite-sized chunks. So it can be picked up and put down. You could flip to a section that speaks to you or the
mm.
particular circumstance you're facing. There's a quote in the beginning, and then a couple, 3 pages of text that shares either a personal story or some life lessons or some research that I have found.
Oh wow, that's such an amazing one, really. I love your take on that. Quite beautiful, quite awesome. And it's such a cooling one. And I like you to show the book to the camera
Sure.
before I proceed to my next question. It is okay not to be fabulous every day. Oh wow. And
Mm.
now, thank you. Thank you for that. Yeah. Now I wanted to go into your subtitle because the subtitle of your book, A Journey to Self-Discovery. What does that journey looks like for you and how does the book reflect it, if in any way?
Well, it reflects it very directly.
Mm,
Before I wrote this book, I never intended to write this book, but before I wrote it, in the
yeah.
very, very minutes before I wrote it, I was in a very dark place, a very sad place.
Wow.
And it was the writing of this book that was, in a way, my own journey that follows that arc that I just talked about.
Mm,
And so in terms of how it is for me, I really went through that process while I was writing it. Although, I
mm,
didn't get to the end and was like, oh, life is all marshmallows and rainbows. It wasn't that
mm,
because as anyone knows, life is a struggle, up and down. You have happy
yeah.
times, you have sad times, and
Yeah.
it's very much an ebb and a flow, a yin and a yang,
Absolutely.
however you want to look at it. And
Mm,
so I still go back to the book and I still look at it, and each day I just try to take another step forward because I believe that in a truly successful life, there is no
mm,
finish line. You
mm.
simply step into your future happiness and your future self-fulfillment, and each day is a new step on that path.
Mm. Oh wow, I love your take on that. That's such an amazing, and I think everybody, this is like a global issue. People needs to be aware of, yeah. People needs to be aware
Yes,
that,
right now especially.
yeah, their voice matters, and it's just so amazing how you can. It's just so okay sometimes not to feel extremely fabulous or extremely, because, like you mentioned, life is full of ups and downs. Having a mental understanding that why we're expecting something positive, why we're expecting something joyful, why we're expecting to have this, to have that, to live this, to live fulfillment, to be joyful. We should also have it in the back of our mind that things can go sometimes horry. And I love this, one of the things I love about philosophy, and even in some of the works I've read in the past, yeah, that
Hmm.
sometimes things can happen. We should also be prepared for the other side of the world. While you're looking forward, because we have to be optimistic, quite fine, yeah. But what happens if something else did not happen? If something else happens? And this is one of the reasons why I think people have issues dealing sometimes, maybe with failures or with
Hmm.
relationship issues or with heartbreaks. I read recently in the news of how a young boy who failed his examination went ahead
Hmm.
and committed suicide, went ahead and killed himself. I mean, you
Hmm.
failed the exam, you're not having a fabulous day, you feel sad. That is okay. Just like you say, it is okay not to be fabulous every day. That
Right.
alone is enough for you because there's a lot waiting for you in the future. There's much goodness, much sources ahead of you that you don't have to let this current failure take you away. Now that you're dead, you've committed suicide. I mean, it's all gone. All hope is gone. So people need to be aware that while life is sweet, it's expected to be fine. We should also be prepared that there's another side to it. And some people don't like to have a conversation around this. They only want it to be sweet, 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 sweet.
Mm. Yeah, yeah. Well,
Mm.
as they say, no matter how thinly the bread is sliced, there are two sides. And
Mm.
I'm very sad to hear about this young boy. The
Honestly.
truth is that it's not, you know, It's not possible. It's not only is it not okay, it's okay not to be fabulous every day. I chose that title very specifically because we
Mm.
can't be all that every day.
Yeah.
And we put so much pressure on ourselves. Like this
Not.
boy put so much pressure on ourselves, and we allow others to put pressure on us. And I think especially now in this time of global insecurity
Mm.
on many fronts, significant fronts,
Mm.
and so much strife and all kinds of things going on. And
Mm.
we won't get into that, but
Mm.
it's very easy to feel overwhelmed, stressed
Well.
out, alone. And the reality is that we need to grace ourselves the
Mm.
kindness, the patience, and the understanding that we are so quick to give to other people. We're
Mm.
quick to tell someone else, it's okay, don't worry about it, everything's going to be fine. And
Mm.
yet we don't do that for ourselves. And we need
Absolutely.
to.
I
Like
know
this
we
boy
need
with
to.
the exam. Yes, he failed. That's okay. It is okay to
Okay.
fail because failure is part of life.
It's part of life.
It absolutely is. It's okay to struggle. It's okay to need help. It is okay to
Mm.
fail. It is okay because there is always tomorrow, and there is an inner strength that many of
Mm.
us don't realize we have. And if we can tap into that and just give ourselves that sort of internal hug, I call it tapping into our inner fabulosity and realizing that we are enough just as we are, regardless
Mm.
of whether or not we pass some test, you know?
Mm.
And there's a saying that it's not that you're not good at something, it's that you haven't found your right field,
Yeah.
right? So just because you can't play soccer doesn't mean you don't happen to be a really amazing basketball player or
Mm.
poet, right? You have to find your true path. And when you
Absolutely.
do, not only will you be happy, but you'll succeed, and everything will feel right.
Mm.
So when you're feeling bad or when things aren't working out, you may not be in your right swim lane, your right life lane,
Mm.
So it's important to do some internal reflection, leaning
Mm.
into those things that you enjoy and that you're good at so that you can really um, maximize those areas of your life.
Oh, wow. That's such an amazing one, really. I love your answer to these questions. And like the father you mentioned, it's also okay to need help. Some people are so afraid of asking for help. Oh, yeah, I don't know what is going to make me think. I don't want them to think I'm doing this or that. It's very okay to ask for
Yeah,
help. It's okay sometimes
right,
to be in need, you know. Asking, all you have to do, just ask. You never can tell who you're asking if they're capable of doing anything. They will say yes. If not, they will say no, and you continue. You move
that's right.
on. It's
Hmm.
just amazing. I love your message, really, quite beautiful. And I
Thank
think
you.
people need to know about this, yeah, and just keep this at the back of their mind. It helps us to live life much beautifully. It helps us to have a much better idea of how we perceive life, to have a much different mirror that we view life lenses with. Because it's not it's
Hmm.
just amazing, really. I love your take on that. I love your take
Well,
on
thank
that.
you. Thank you.
Yeah. And also, self-discovery can be such a personal and sometimes lonely process. I wanted to ask
Hmm.
you, how do you navigate that when people around you aren't necessarily supportive? I love your take on that.
Yeah, that's huge. In fact, there's a small chapter in my book called Mean People Suck. And I
Mm.
have a newsletter, as it happens. I have a newsletter that goes out twice a month. And I think it was either the last issue or the issue before. I did an entire newsletter on providing tools and resources to help people handle how to deal with what I call the naysayers, the bringer downers in their lives, especially if that someone is a family member or a longtime friend, but they don't believe in you or they don't support your dream, or they put you down in some ways, like, oh, I can't believe you did so great given that some negative thing. And it's
Mm.
very hard because you don't want to hurt their feelings. You don't necessarily want to remove them from your lives. So
Right.
I actually provided a whole newsletter full of resources on how to deal with that. And I think it boils down to trying to minimize the time you spend with people and in places that bring you down.
Mm.
Try to
Absolutely.
maximize spending time with people and in places that uplift you,
Mm.
and curating what you say to people who don't fully embrace your dream, your abilities, and your inner worth, and being
Mm.
careful what you share with those people. so that you don't, frankly,
Absolutely.
give them weapons against you.
That's a lovely one. Those your sentences are so heavy that it needs to be taken care of and digested. And you have to think about it later on and apply them to your life. That's such an amazing chunk of advice you've got in there. That's a beautiful
Thank you.
one. It sounds to me like a philosopher's guide. It sounds to me like, we're talking a bit of philosophy. This is how you should do. This is how you should navigate this. And, don't give too much information away because they might use it against you. Yeah, that's a
Mm,
lovely one, really. Thank you. Thank you
yeah,
for sharing.
well, you're welcome.
Yeah. And also, the idea of giving ourselves permission to not be perfect every day is powerful. Now, I wanted to ask you, by now we've talked a bit slightly about this already, but then the idea
Hmm.
of giving ourselves permission to not be perfect every day is powerful. Now, why do you think that message resonates so deeply in our world today?
Because there is so much pressure, especially with social media,
Social media.
to seem fabulous all the time. People have their Instagram posts, and yet behind the scenes, who knows what's going
Love the
on,
way you
right?
raise your hand.
Because but people don't put out their truth selves. They don't share their authentic selves, and instead they want people to think the best of them. We crave approval in some way, and I think we even
Mm,
crave it more in times of strife and turbulence. And right now, there are very few places on this planet that are not experiencing some level of turbulence and insecurity.
mm,
And so I think there are pressures, um, globally and societally, but there are also pressures from family and friends and from peers. You mentioned the
mm,
boy committing suicide. You
mm.
know, he didn't say, "Oh, I failed this test, and I don't deserve to live," in a vacuum. There must have been pressures on him from
Pressure, yeah.
family or friends or school or whoever, but there are external pressures. And
Mm,
I believe we need to just take a step back and say, no,
no.
we need to embrace our perfect imperfections. We are
Mm,
perfectly imperfect.
mm,
We are by nature imperfect. And what is imperfect about us
mm.
makes us unique, makes us special, and is our gift that we should lean into. And so I think it's a mindset shift, because you can't just say, "Oh, I'm just not going to do it." You have to really look in, and it takes effort. It takes effort to shift that mindset. It's not easy, but it's important and it's worth working on.
Oh, wow. That is really a global issue, a global crisis. And I like the fact that you've taken to write a book of this nature in a time like this. It is so timely. It is so amazing. It is just what we need, what the world
Oh,
needs to do. Like you mentioned, social media is doing a lot.
that is quite a compliment, Peter. Thank you.
Yeah, it's doing a lot, really. We can go on and on and on and on talking about this. It's a whole lot going on. And I love your take on that. Thank you. Thank you very much for sharing. And just apart from this book, do you have any other works you've authored or say currently working on?
I do, actually. So I'm new to this. This is a new career field for me.
Yeah.
And I'm an accidental author, right? I didn't intend originally to publish a book. I did it because I wrote this little slim volume of life advice for my children after their father had passed. And
Mm,
anyway, fast forward, I had some issues. My mother died and some other things, and I pulled this out, and I ended up using it as, as a project for them. And as we talked about earlier, it ended up being a journey for me, a self-healing
mm.
journey for me. And I sent it to them, and they were the ones who encouraged me to publish it. And
Wow.
so I became an accidental published author. Um, but I loved it. I loved the process. And I would like to now write a book in as many genres as I can. I've just
Interesting.
finished the manuscript for a middle grade book that
Mm,
I've sent to an editor. And I'm
wow.
currently working on a new adult romance, a little bit spicy.
Oh, interesting.
And um, and I'm leaning into my speaking career. I've received some really amazing feedback, Peter, from people who appreciate the message. And I've spoken to many small groups, and I've been encouraged to speak to larger groups. So I'm now leaning
Wow.
into that a little bit and doing a little more motivational speaking. So
That's an amazing one, really. That's quite commendable and quite a lot. Thank you so much for sharing with us.
Yeah.
No,
Thank
absolutely. I'd like us now to diversify a little bit now into the
Mhm.
feedbacks, into the subject of
Okay.
readers and feedbacks, because some of the things that
Okay.
intrigue me the most about writing is the fact that after an author or after we as writers created this work already and we have it in the public, it is now left for the public's discretion to judge or to interpret the book with how they find it. If it's
Mhm.
perfect for them, if they were able to relate to the story, etc. And sometimes some readers might get the message intended by the author quite perfectly, 100%, or something I think even like 84% of most people, you see like a lot of 5 star, 4 star, 3 stars, they have a little bit of 1 star and 2 stars. But they're all with 4 and 5 star always over that of the small stars. Yeah, so this honestly me thinking, we can have people interpreted the book quite correctly, and some would interpret it quite differently. Some might be far from getting the message intended by the author. Some might even hilariously misunderstand the message and interpret the book upside down quite differently from what the author intended. And as on and on and on and on, we keep getting different feedbacks after publication and releases. I wanted to ask you,
Mhm.
how do you feel when readers interpret your works quite differently than you intended? How does that make you feel as a storyteller?
Um, it doesn't bother me because I cannot control what they think or feel. That's up to them. I can only offer what I have and let it go. And there's a poet, Rilke. I don't know if you're familiar with him, probably.
Yeah,
But
rings a
Rainier
bell.
Maria Rilke,
Rings a
and in
bell.
his book, yeah, he there's a book called Letters to a Young Poet, and
Oh,
in the front of that book, and I might get this quote a little bit wrong, but he says, "Nothing nothing matters less than the opinion of others to one's art."
oh, I love that.
So yes, exactly. So you put out as an artist, whether you're a poet or an author or a painter or an actor or a singer, you
Mm,
put something out. That is your art. That is your offering.
mm,
And people can consume it or not
yeah.
in whatever way they choose. And if they choose to interpret the book upside down and completely wrong, that's their interpretation. And I
Mm,
cannot control that. And so it doesn't bother me. If
mm.
that's what they choose to get out of it, that is their right. And and I'm happy for them.
I love your take on that, really. And I think everybody should have this in the back of their mind. Even like most people once told me in the past, yeah, if you want a longer career as a writer, as an author, you have to be prepared for criticism. You have to be prepared for, readers' feedback, either it bothers you or it shouldn't bothers you, for 5 star or whatever they're giving. If it's fine, good. If it doesn't, fine. And sometimes I even like it when it just keep popping in. Sometimes just got me sitting down, looking at everything one after the other and smiling and laughing. I said, oh, okay, thank you. That's quite interesting. Oh, okay, thank you. Oh my goodness. That's so fun, really. I love your take on that. Thank you for sharing.
Yes.
Yeah, and just for the sake of all the writers who are out there, currently writers, but they haven't had any published work out there currently, what would you advise people, those who are struggling with writing and also getting their book out there? What advice would you give people in this category?
I have three pieces of advice.
Yeah.
The first is one that a fellow author and uh, friend shared, which was write. If you want to write,
Mm,
write. Sit down and write.
right.
81% of people want to write a book. Only 3% of them ever do,
Yeah.
and only 0.6% of them ever publish their works. That's 6 in 100,000 ever publish a work. So if you
Mm,
want to write a book, then write a book. That would be my first piece of advice. The
mm,
second piece of advice would be write what you love, write what you know, write from the heart,
mm.
write something that is meaningful to you because you're never going to get rich doing it. Chances
Yeah.
are. I think you have more chance I think I saw something that said you have a greater chance of being struck by lightning than you do of
Mm.
reaching the New York Times bestseller, right?
Oh, wow.
So write because you love it and write because it's a passion. And my third bit of advice is if you really want it,
Mm.
you will find a way
Yeah.
because obstacles are what you see when you take your eyes off the goal, right?
I love
And if
that.
you're not If you're not finding a way to write your book, then you have to ask yourself, and this is true for any goal, if you're not finding a way to reach your goal, then
Mm,
ask yourself, is it really your goal? Or is
mm,
this something that's been imposed upon you? Have people
mm,
been saying, Peter, you should write a book. Peter, you should do this.
mm.
Is it what you want? Because if you really do want to write a book,
Absolutely.
then write the book, write what you love, and just do it. You will find the way because there's never going to be a right time. There's never
Right.
going to be, there's never going to be the perfect moment. They say the
Mm.
best time to start was yesterday. The next best time is now, today.
Now,
So those would be my three pieces of advice.
oh wow, that's a lot you've given us, really. Quite huge that I need to digest and take a bottle of water on it. Quite beautiful, really. And I'm hoping that viewers, even including myself, would love to utilize it. Thank you so much for your wonderful advice. I find it to be quite inspiring and well thought provoking. Thank you. And just in case we have some viewers who are currently watching this interview, I would love to get a copy of your book. On what platform is it available on for purchase?
It is widely available everywhere online, and it is in print, audio, and ebook, and in Spanish and in English.
Oh, wow. That's amazing. And I left a link in the description part of this interview where interested viewers can get a copy of Ali Dalsimer's books directly on Amazon and Barnes& and Nobles on our website and also on other platforms. I also left a link to our social media pages for possible followings. So thank you so much, Ali, for accepting the invitation to be featured on P English Literature. I must say this is more than awesome. Very great, quite exciting and lovely having this animated, life-changing conversation with you around the beautiful titles. Thank you so much for coming on.
It has been my pleasure, and I have very much enjoyed my time with you, Peter. You asked some wonderful questions.
Thank you so much.